Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. For our family, when we did this, we were told to do it with truth. No more assumptions. And for our family, it started in 1990 with the Harnell Brewing Company that was making that Crazy Horse malt liquor. And in federal court, 2001, we won this case against the Harnell Brewing Company. So everything was awarded back to the family, name, everything like this. And 2001, in this federal court, the acting administrator for the Crazy Horse estate, our family knew that he wasn't from our family. So federal law says that if you're going to be an administrator of any estate, you have to be blood from that estate. So this is when, 2001, we were told to tell our true identity, who we are today. So in this federal court, because he used my father in this court case, Floyd Clown, I stood up for my dad. He passed away in 1987, when he left to the other side. So to make these corrections, in this federal court case, we filed a blood tree on the father's side, the maternal side. Because the Northern Plains, this is how they look at our people on the father's side, the man's side. So this is what we put in this court case, showing how my dad was a nephew to the warrior. That was his uncle. So we showed this on this blood tree. So when the acting administrator seen this, he said that he wasn't on that tree, he was on the mother's side of the tree. So this is what we put in this court case also, was the mother's side of the tree. And he wasn't on there either. But in this court case, the federal judge, he appointed 3 administrators. And they appointed me the administrator for Cheyenne River, where we're from. And they appointed one from Pine Ridge and one from Rosebud. And at that time, they were told, Pine Ridge and Rosebud administrators, you have to make a blood tree like Cheyenne River did. And it's recognized as a legal tree. What they've been claiming before, the judge called a tentative tree, where you could put any name down on a tree and say that was how you proved yourself, who you are. But federal law, under the federal law, they acknowledge 6 ways to prove your identity, who you are. And when me and my brothers researched before we did this court, filed an injunction in this court case, where the judge, it's time to determine the blood heirs of the Crazy Horse estate. So in our research, we used these documents that was recognized under the federal law. And that's when we found out that probate, which is a death certificate, 1904 and 5 was when they kept this on our people in where we're from, the Northern Plains. And they recognized before that, when they put us on these agencies, enrollments and allotments of these agencies as legal documents. And then before that, these agencies, they recognize census, ration listings, and church records as legal documents under the federal law. So this is what me and my brothers, we used to make our blood trees for our family. And this is what Pine Ridge and Rosebud were told to do too. Because these two, Pine Ridge and Rosebud, were the ones that were claiming our family for 124 years before we could tell who we are, our true identity. So they're the ones right now today, from 2001 to now, they still haven't shown their proof of what they've been claiming for 124 years. So this is what we're waiting on, the closing date of this court case. The federal judge, they acknowledged the paternal side of the tree, my dad's side. And right now, because the acting administrator said he was on the mother's side, this is what we're waiting on, the closing date of this court case. So they still haven't shown anything yet in the last 17 years. If they were the blood family, they would have shown their proof right away. Because under these federal laws, these documents, in order to get them, you have to be from the family. That's federal law. So that's why we're waiting on them, and we know that they can't get this information of our family because they're not family. But they've been assuming for so long that they were from the family, this is what they're still trying to hang on to. And because we're told to do this with truth, they're finding out that they're not of our family. And because sometimes truth hurts, even though truth hurts, it's still the truth. So these tentative trees that they were claiming before, well now, under the federal law, there's documents to prove, to make it a legal tree. So this is what we're waiting on in this court case. And when we produce these blood trees in this federal court case, the father and mother side, there was 3,000 blood family today of Crazy Horse. So this is our family, the father and mother side. The father side there's 600, the mother side there's 2,400. And this is what we're waiting on, this closing date of this court case. And that's the Harnell Brewing Company case that was awarded back to us in 2001, but it's determined the blood heirs of the Crazy Horse estate. And then it'll be done with this court case. So this is where our family, our grandfathers, when they told us to do this, they said 2000 was a time when the way this country looks at us and the way they think and look at things, it changed. So this is when we were told to tell our identity, who we are. So when we did this, or today we're able to say I'm a grandson, how you related to me. All my family that left before 2001 never got to say who they were, their true identity, like my dad. That was my uncle. He couldn't say that in public. So growing up, we were always taught, when you talked about grandfather, to just listen and walk away. Don't tell them who you are. So for our family, it started when our grandfather got assassinated in Fort Robinson in 1877. And before he went to Fort Robinson, 2 weeks before the Battle of Little Bighorn, they held a Sundance north of Lame Deer, Montana, about 6 miles north of there. And at this Sundance, this is where Sitting Bull was shown a vision of the soldiers, what was going to happen at Little Bighorn. So they put it on a rock called Deer Medicine Rock. For our family, we call it the rock that belonged to the black-tailed deer. And this is where my grandfather, he was shown his demise, how he's going to leave this earth at that Sundance. So he put his vision right west of this Deer Medicine Rock, today they call it, on Jack Bailey's land. There's an owl sitting there of rock. And the owl is one of our family's medicines. So on the belly of this owl, he put what he was shown from his Sundance, his demise. And it showed that there was a doctor standing there, Lakota. My grandfather standing beside him. The soldier that stabbed him twice, he was holding a rifle and a bayonet. And his own people were standing with the soldier. And it showed horse tracks that were up and down like this, coming in, meaning he was to be alive coming in. When he leaves, the horse tracks are laying down, meaning he was to be dead when he leaves. So, which happened 15 months later in Fort Robinson. So even though he knew what the government and his own kind were going to do, he still did what he did for our family and our people. Because of his unconditional love for his family and people. So this were, before he went into Fort Robinson, the United States, they promised him an agency. And when they said they didn't write it down yet, he went from Red Cloud Agency to Spotted Agency. And because at that time, Red Cloud Agency was where Fort Robinson was. And Spotted Tail was where today Pine Ridge is. And then when they wrote it down and they were bringing it, they told him that they wrote it down and they're bringing it now. So that's when he came into Fort Robinson. And that's when he got assassinated. And what he put on that rock 15 months before happened there. So when they brought my grandfather's agency, Red Cloud and Spotted Tail, who were head of these two paper tribes that the government made and acknowledged, and put these two people in front of it and said, we're going to deal with these two for all the lands in this area like this. So this is where when they said we were acknowledged by the government, they signed for my grandfather's agency. And when they put their signatures down, the government said that was an illegal transaction because only the blood family claimed this agency. So that's when, under United States history, it's the Act of 1877, when the United States confiscated 8.7 million acres, including the Black Hills. That was my grandfather's agency. And this is where they took it back to Washington. And this is where this was, how that act came. So the government said only the blood family could claim this agency. So when we were told to stand up 2001, tell our true identity, well, the blood family wants our grandfather's agency. That was promised to him. And today, it's sitting in the Secretary of State office in Washington, this agency. And it has a presidential seal on it. When a president puts a seal on something, a document or anything, that's an executive order. And under the federal law, if the seal is not broke, It's still law today. So this is where we had a friend that lives in North Carolina. His name was William Carrington. He's a historian. And we met him at Little Bighorn battlefield, the park service there. But he heard us talk, and he asked if he could go look for our grandfather's agency in Washington. He said, I only live an hour from Washington, D.C. So I told him, yeah, go ahead, go look. And there he called back, but when he said that, he left. I told my brothers, I want to see if he's serious in what he's saying. Because people say things and then not do it. And there he called back and he said he went to the Smithsonian and he went to the American Library of Congress. I didn't find it there. So then I knew that he was serious in what he was looking. He was actually looking. So I told him it's in the Secretary of State office. You're a historian. Historians are given a code, or they can, when they research, they show them the originals and like this. So he went to the Secretary of State office. This is what he told us when he called back. That I went to this Secretary of State office and I asked, and through security led me downstairs, down this hall, and there was a door they opened. And in this room, there was a table sitting in the middle of this room. And there was glass over the top of this table. It was sticking up so far like that, covered this table. And I seen it. Creator's agency, docket number, land description with his presidential seal. So he said, I remembered what you said about that presidential seal. It's not broke, it's still law. So he said, I took my time, I walked around this table and I inspected that seal. And he said, that seal wasn't broke. Your grandfather didn't lie to you. So I told him, our grandfathers never lied to us. They always tell us the truth. So today, how things are, if you don't have faith in truth, you're going to go look to see if it's real. You're going to touch to make sure it's real. You can't go on a truth that you're told. There's doubt when you do that. So these kind of, he called back and he said they're sitting there. So that was verified in 2007 when he did this for our family. So that's why today we're just waiting for this federal court case to determine the blood heirs to be done. And once the federal law recognizes the blood family as the blood heirs, then we want our grandfather's agency. That's what our family is entitled to, with 119 families that are on this agency, the people that are entitled to this. And under the federal law, trust status lands, I have some on Cheyenne River that I was gifted from my mom and my grandfather and one of his aunts. And it's in trust status lands, trust status. So these federal agencies, under the federal law, trust status means this land is non-taxable. A non-Indian can't own it, sell it, live on it, or trade it. Trust status lands. A different law applies to this. So this is what we want our grandfather's agency, 8.7 million acres in trust status lands. So these are the man-made laws that this federal government made. And these laws that they made, this is what we live by. under the federal system. And if we break it, you go to jail, you get incarcerated. So this is going to be a test for this government when the truth of this comes out. So when my grandfather got assassinated in Fort Robinson, at that time, this government, when they don't understand something or like this, they'll destroy it. So they said, if Crazy Horse's family if Crazy Horse is like this, then his whole family is like that. And the best thing to do is to kill all of them. And this is why our family went in hiding in 1877. And 1890, when the 7th Cavalry spotted our crews on the maternal side of our family, the government knew him and labeled him as Bigfoot. That's when Wounded Knee happened, where they unarmed the people and massacred women, children, elders. And then the United States history, under the United States, they called it a battle. And they gave out 20-some Congressional Medal of Honors in doing this. So these are our experience with the government. And then the next one was World War I. When my dad, Floyd Clown, his older brother, my uncle, fought for this country and died for this country in France, World War I. And 1918, that same year that he fought and died for this country came and assassinated one of my grandfathers, one of his uncles, because he publicly said, I'm Crazy Horse's younger brother. So the government came and did this. So and that one, they just assassinated him. His wife and his daughter were with him, but they didn't touch him. Just him, they assassinated. So this is where why our family are in hiding. And in the 1930s, this man wrote a book called Custer's Conqueror. And in this book, he states that Crazy Horse was buried in the Pine Ridge area. So my grandmother replied, he's buried nowhere in the Pine Ridge area. The government came looking for her. Crazy Horse's little sister is still here. So that's when our family really went in hiding. So our family, nobody then never used your first names when you talk. It was always brother, sister, nephew, niece, aunt, uncle, cousin, grandfather, grandmother. So the family referred to each other. Because in our culture, there's no great in front of a grandfather or grandson or like that. It's just grandfather or grandson. So why our family wasn't hiding. And 1921, my uncle that fought and died for this country in France, the war was over in 1918, but they brought him back in 1921 after this World War I. And after this World War I, countries that were involved, some of them protested the United Nations. They said, why are these natives fighting for the United States when they're their own country? And in order for the United States to get around that, they made it in 1924 a Citizen Act, where they made us citizens of this country to get around that. So that was when our grandfather said, this is when they put us under democracy, what runs this country. They said it was a legal way to lie, cheat, and steal by majority rule. Why today everybody has a right to vote. So under this system, something bad could get voted over something good by majority rule. And then at that same time, they put our people under taxation. What runs this country? Democracy and taxation. That's when we were given a Social Security number. Because you're a taxable item under this system. You could change your name 100 times, but this number is your identity. This number never changes for you. So under this system, if you think you own something, land or whatever, under this system, you don't. Because try not paying your taxes when you'll find out that they'll foreclose you and give it to somebody that will pay the taxes. So as truth, you don't own nothing under this system that we're under. And for our people, we haven't been a citizen of this country for 100 years yet. 2024 is when we're just not going to be a citizen of the United States for 100 years. When our nation has been here before anybody came to this continent. So, this isn't our way of living life of our people. And this is where our grandfathers, they said when these red nations were here, they referred to each other as two-legged. When my grandfathers were here in the 1800s, this two-legged, they called him a kawicha, an earthman. And today, it's called a human being. This two-legged earthman human being has no skin color, black, red, yellow, white. They said they were all put on this earth equally. And they were put on this earth with truth. And this is what they got away from. So we're here to remind the world that you forgot Boychak in our language means truth. So our grandfathers, when they looked at a person, they look at their heart, not the color of their skin. That's why when we met Bill, we had to look at his heart first. We didn't look at his color of his skin. Why he did this. We knew that he was sent to us. Because when we started this, our grandfather said, we're going to send help from the four directions. He came from the west. And the one that came from the east, that was going to write our book, right before we was going to start, he got called back into the military and was sent to Afghanistan. So his way of thinking changed because over there is life and death. Don't have time to be thinking about these things, that how this had to be done. And the south direction are the lawyers that are representing us in this, determine the blood heirs of the crazy horse estate. And when this is done, then in our direction, the last direction is an international lawyer that's coming to stop the use of our grandfather's name around this world. So that's what we're standing up for, our grandfather, Crazy Horse. We're protecting his name. And under this court case, we proved as a family that you could protect a grandfather, a name like his. So we're setting protocol for all Native families. Now there's a way to do this under this federal system to protect your grandfather. So when this court case is done, sitting Blues family's next. Geronimo's family's next after that. Because in our research, we found these three names were the most used names around this world. And when we were, what did we meet? Nez Perce, Joseph, Chief Joseph. What did we meet?
Grandson.
I don't know where.
Tulsa. Tulsa. Oh, down here.
Lawton. Lawton, we met Chief Joseph, his family. So he's another one that, just what we told him that. Now, when this court case is done, you have a way, your family has a way to protect your grandfather's name under the law. So we're doing what our grandfather, when he was here, he never said you have to do it like this or like that. He just did it by example. He did it and they followed how he did it. So this is what we're doing as a Quasar's family. We're setting protocol for all Native families. This is how you do this to protect your grandfather's name. So this is the first time that a family will be able to say, you got to ask permission. A family could say yes or no if you're going to use this name. Yeah, that's for Chief Joseph's grandson that we met. But so these kind of things we're doing for our family. We're correcting all the wrongs that were done to our family and our people with truth. So this where the Pine Ridge and Rosebud are having a hard time with this truth because they've been assuming for so long that they think that assumption is truth, and it isn't. It's not the real truth. So when they use these 6 documents proving their identity, that's when they find out that they're not from our family. That they forgot about their grandmothers and grandfathers, where they came from. Their bloodlines, where they came from. That's truth. So I know their grandfathers and grandmothers are happy that they weren't forgotten, that they knew their families remembered it. So it's time for this now. This is truth. So this 2-legged earthman human being, he looked at life with his heart. One of my grandfathers said, grandson, you have 2 sets of eyes that you see with. One that you see things with your eyes. And the other one is with your heart. Through your eyes, you see the real truth. Called Tranteshta, Eye of the Heart. So like this book that we made for our family. We see it as a book, but when you look at it with your heart, through your eyes, that's a tree where that book came from, how that was made. That's the real truth. So time to look at the real truth. And our people, our grandfathers, when they walked on this earth, it's a living thing that they're walking on, because everything lives and grows on us, on our grandmother earth. We call it Unjimakha, grandmother earth. It's a living thing. So when you walk on this, your grandmother, you walk with respect. And like this, these kind of things, people of this world forgotten. That they were put on this earth with truth, black, red, yellow, white. So they told us to remind them. that this is how you're supposed to look at life. Look at the heart, not the color of the skin, and like this. Because under this, we're all equal. Nobody above the other, and like that. And it's time for this earthman, human being, to stand up for our grandmother. Time to heal our grandmother Earth. But like anything, sometimes we're asked, don't you feel revenge or anything like this, what they did to our family? That's truth, because that's how we're supposed to do this. A second ago, it's already in the past. You can't change it. It already happened. You can't turn back time. But what we could change is right now and the future is what we could change. So it's time to heal. Time to heal our grandmother Earth, and like this. So these kind of things we were told to share with the world. So like Bill said earlier, month of June we're going to Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Finland. Because this book came out in Norwegian from there, in Norway, so that's where we're going in June. So we'll get to share this with those 4 countries over there. But the one that we met, Arnie, and jokingly, I said, when I get off that plane, when I land in Europe, I'm going to plan a staff, claim Europe just like what you guys did when you came here. Claim my country. So, I was just joking, but these kind of things. It's time for truth now, time to heal. And in our culture, humor was very important. It's always good to laugh and not be too serious and this. So coming from these reservations, we're the most regular people on this earth. 5 laws we live by every day. Federal, state, tribal, county, and city. Every day we live by these. So this system taught us about law. Now, these man-made laws that they made, are you going to follow them? This government that made these. But we met a guy in law. He said, I live by 6 laws because I live by the old ladies' law too. So me, I'm the most regulated one, he said, like that. But so a lot of corrections coming, and this is just on the father's side. Crazy was my dad's side. And my mom's side, maternal side, she has a colorful tree. Well, I'll let my younger brother talk about the maternal side of our family. And this is what we're doing as grandsons. We're standing up for all our grandfathers. And we're also French. We have French blood in us. So to know your true identity, you can't deny a bloodline where you come from. Otherwise, you're denying a grandfather or a grandmother where this blood comes from, your identity. So, but I'll let my younger brother talk.